Mike Dolson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Jennifer Finley. Here. Jim Molitor, Carol Langford, Danielle Matt. Here. Bing Matt, James Steele Jr.,
Good morning.
Martin Charlo, Len Two Teeth,
I'm here.
and Linda Strahan.
Jimmy, will you give us a prayer this morning?
Heavenly Grandfather, I want to thank you for the day today and ask you to be with us as we sit here and do our work for our people. Ask you to look after look at our children, the young ones that are coming in. There was one of our tribal members had a granddaughter back east, or grandson back east that was run over. And so special prayers for that family. Ask you to look after our elders that are teachers to us, for all of us, and just ask you to be with us, ask you to be with our membership, ask you to be with us as we travel today. A couple of us are on the road. For all of us that are traveling for the work we do, we just ask you for blessings and ask us in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Jimmy. Got word that Abby was not at the last meeting and was waiting to get the transcript to do the minutes. So the minutes aren't ready until the next time. So we don't have minutes for this morning. And as far as that goes, we don't have an agenda for this coming Thursday. And next Tuesday is the trip to Missoula to see the commissioners. And check out the building Kathy Ross is looking at. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, so next Tuesday, I need to drive to Bozeman, but I could go to the Missoula Commissioner meeting until noon. What time and where does it start?
Do we have a time on that, Jennifer? And how about the commissioner's time?
Noon for you guys to be there for a lunch before you guys start
Lunch.
the meeting.
Can you eat lunch?
I'll get the address.
Okay, maybe. Yeah,
That Missoula County?
yeah, Missoula.
Our actual next council meeting will be that Thursday. Not this coming Thursday, but the following Thursday. Yeah. Yeah, and I will be absent.
Yeah, and I'll be in Bozeman.
No, actually, New York sort of vacation, yeah.
Oh,
First time in 6 years. So we have an agenda. Anything to add to the agenda? We have a possible walk-in. Executive. Danielle? Open? Okay, James. Okay, we do. If that's all, I'd entertain a motion. Motion. Motion by Tom. James. Motion by James, second by Len. All in favor? We're unanimous. We do have one walk-in. Guyver, come up.
Mike, and then I have a couple things. I'll bring it to Tom to ask for those ones, but Rob said he wanted to come in too regarding a flag. Okay,
Ann, come on up.
can we go into executive, her issues in executive?
We will go out of regular into executive.
Yeah, Lem Schraub for that work on that. Thank you.
Danielle, you had an issue?
I'll try and be really quick. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and supporting the skate park. It was pretty amazing to see that many people in our small community. Served over 215 plates of food, so I'd say we had one heck of a churn out. Working behind the scenes with SCAHA, trying to secure a shed for the skate park to put our skate park equipment there. Our new building arrived last evening down there in the agency. I'll visit with Joe about a room for essential eats and in search of a deep freezer there so we can continue to provide food to the community with the donations that have been coming in. Tribal Ed, they did an amazing job over here, same day as our skate park opening, but I really want to thank Michelle. They secured some backpacks for our kiddos that weren't able to make it up with the conflicting events, so that was pretty amazing. I've sent out information to Law and Order and Fish and Game on a search and rescue training through the Missing and Murdered Indigenous People Advisory Council through a grant that they have. They're providing search and rescue training in September. I've got a couple more slots, so I'm hoping Law and Order will grab a couple of those. But if you guys know of anybody interested in a search and rescue training, send them my way because we do have some spots available for CSKT. I think that's it.
Go ahead, Carol.
Who got the tiny house down in Dixon at the agency?
Alberta's kid. So
That looks good.
it looks really good. Oh, so we've got the skate park, we've got the new building, a new home. I see Whisper here and I was gonna thank her because Wild Round Rec or NRD, they've got the picnic tables fixed up in town, down at the old Sloan's Road there at the old bridge. Oh, it just looks beautiful. So we're slowly getting there, but town's
Yeah.
coming together nicely.
I'm just impressed with that little house and, people they always think, a shed or, I mean, this is a roof over somebody's head, a little family. And it's just wonderful to see. And I think it looks good myself.
Yeah, they're a hardworking family, so it's a young family that gets an opportunity and they'll be good contributors to the community. So we're really excited.
I really think, Mr. Chair, that's the new age, is going small and just having something warm and nice and, yeah.
Whisper.
I have one little note. I did see your post. Thank you, Danielle, for posting about that. I saw some little benches and I mentioned to Todd if there was the potential to put like a little sunshade or something over that. He said they're deconstructing some buildings and they might be able to repurpose and provide some little shades for those because it gets so hot down in Moise and Agency and Dixon. So they are going to look into that.
Thank you so much.
One more thing. Whisper, Pat has money for benches. So if you need some money, I think Eleanor Vizcara does provide that money for the benches. So might consider that in other locations.
And before we get to our regular agenda, we do have three boards that only had a single application to come back and they're all incumbent. I'm wondering if we just reappoint.
Was it for again, Mr. Chair?
We have Gaming Commission with Randy Ashley, SNK Electronics with Sheila Matt, SNK Gaming LLC with Dean Sorrell.
Motion to approve each one? Yeah, motion to approve the reappointment of all three.
Motion by James, second by Tom. All in favor? Any opposed? We're unanimous. Thank you. With that, we are looking for David Burke and John Wheeler. Morning, David. You're muted yet, so take it off mute.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, tribal council members. Thanks for adding us into your agenda this morning. I'm Dr. David Burke, pediatric dentist, and then here alongside me I have John Wheeler and also off camera, one of our team members, Mary Driscoll. So what we'd like to speak with you today is the dental department's community outreach program and our pediatric dental team are requesting approval to apply for a 1-year $30,000 grant from the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry's foundation. I'm a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, and I'm very active with the group, and they award about 10 to 12 $30,000 grants annually and handpick 1 or 2 each year to invite for continued funding for their projects for up to 3 years. And so these grants are awarded to improve access to dental care for children specifically. And so our dental community outreach program every year goes out into all of the elementary schools on the reservation to complete our school-based program. So at these visits at the schools, what we do are we complete screening exams to look for existing dental cavities and then to communicate the status of the kids that we screen to the families. We also review oral hygiene instruction and go over home care with the kids, and then we apply topical fluoride for cavity prevention as well. We've been doing this since COVID ended, and so for the past 2 years, we actually added the service of dental sealants into the program. And so our dental sealants that we apply are evidence-based, based on lots of science, and it's one of our most effective and non-invasive ways to prevent dental cavities in children. And so just to give you a little bit of background about why we're applying for the grant, when you're placing dental sealants, you can use 2 different materials, one of 2 different materials. One is very, very effective, and I always go to, it's kind of our gold standard when we're placing it in the dental clinic. And in order to place these sealants, the teeth need to be cleaned and very dry so that you can't have any moisture whatsoever. However, if there's any moisture, these sealants are basically ineffective. They just won't stick to the teeth at all. And so when we go into our community-based programs, we opt for a different type of material, which is kind of our second tier in quality, and they're just a little more effective when you can't keep the teeth really dry and you're working in more of a wet environment. And so when we go out into the field and we're placing sealants, we're using this other material because we are not in an ideal clinic environment. And so what our grant proposal is doing is we're seeking to purchase 2 mobile dental units that are very compact, very mobile. They actually fold up into the size of a suitcase. And then we can take these into the schools, and they aid in using water and suction and air to keep the teeth very, very dry so that we can apply our most ideal sealants onto the kids' teeth when we're going into the schools. So these types of mobile units have been around for about 15 years, but the technology has really improved. And so they really make mobile dentistry high quality and easy to set up and take down and move from place to place. And so they are somewhat spendy, but with this $30,000 grant, we would be able to afford 2 of these. We would base 1 out of our mission clinic and 1 out of the Polson clinic. And then when we do the program at our bigger schools, we would utilize both at the same time. And that's usually at those bigger schools when we have both teams from Mission and Polson going to the screening events. Also included in the grant, we'd like to purchase some dental educational materials. So it's some programming offered by the American Dental Association that can be used on tablets and is also mobile so that we can take these into the schools and do some educational and promotional oral health activities with the kids. And then also would be just for kind of signage and more promotional stuff like t-shirts to help kind of build knowledge about the program within the community so that people are identifying us as tribal health and doing these community programs. So that's it for our proposal request. Do you guys have any questions at all about what we're seeking?
That all sounds wonderful, Dr. Burke. I already have a motion by Carol to move forward with your proposal. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I had a little guy that went through this program with Dr. Burke and it's amazing. And Mr. did have a cavity this week, last week. So we're on it, Doc.
So motion by Carol, second by Martin. All in favor? We're unanimous. We'll get some money, Dr. Burke. Keep it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We appreciate your support.
Well, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Whisper, you're up. Come on up. Good morning.
Vietnam. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. We will try to stay very close to our time. I am here with a group called Open Air. They're an artists in residence program, and I've got with me Lizzie Archer and Danny Vasquez. And just a quick background, and I'll let them explain their program a little bit. We might also have Stony online, and Stephanie might have joined us as well. When the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service had the Bison Range, they were working with this group to place an artist in residence at the Bison Range to do an art program there. Because of COVID, thank you, they were unable to facilitate that placement. So now they've reached back out to us and we're looking at trying to start the program again. And so I'll let them really quick talk about the program and then we'll see if you guys think it's a good idea. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lizzie. Thank you so much for having us, and I really appreciate your time this morning. So Open Air is based out of Missoula, but we are in service to all of Western Montana. And so we have artist residency programs. We also facilitate art workshops and artist presentations. Our focus is artist residencies rooted in place and community. And so the Bison Range has been at the top of our list for a few years now to host a artist and specifically an Indigenous artist. We work with artists of all mediums, painters, singers, dancers, visual artists. There's really no bounds for who we work with. I'll let Danny take it over as far as our Indigenous Initiatives program.
Hello, good morning. My name is Danny Vasquez. Thank you all for allowing us to speak in front of you today. This is my first time in your building and it's beautiful. I'm from Rocky Boy, so I'm like, we need to get on it because this is beautiful. I'm the Indigenous Initiatives Coordinator, and so kind of new in this role, but yeah, one of our big priorities is uplifting and supporting Indigenous artists across the state. If you have any questions about it, let me know, or feel free to ask. So right now, a big chunk of what the Indigenous Initiatives program is we host a monthly speaker series. So we interview different artists across the state, just about their work, how we can support them. And right now we are collaborating with Artmobile. Montana to do a traveling art exhibition that is, this year we're gonna focus on Indigenous artists and really uplifting Indian Ed for All. So it's really a good opportunity for rural student like schools to get this Indian education. And what else? So yeah, this residency would be it's really the first one that is Indigenous specific, and so we are, really excited about this potential partnership. And because it is a new thing we're trying, is we are like open to like working with you all, like really want to bring you all in and make this yours as well. So yeah.
I can speak a little bit. Oh, sorry.
Thanks for coming in, and I definitely support it. I'm a huge supporter of the arts. I'm an author of 5 books, and I've done a lot of work like this in the schools throughout the state as a writer, and I think that every time I went into a school, I felt like kids were so hungry for this kind of a connection. And I think very, very rarely do kids have an adult look them in the eye and say, what's important to you? What's beautiful to you? What do you think about? What do you notice? And pay attention to their answer. And instilling this idea in children that what they think and how they feel, how they see the world is important. And to help them have a voice in the world, I think it is very important. And I think also for adults too, adults don't have that. And I think as people age, people lose their sense of creativity and play and wonder, and people love having an outlet. I just support having an artist here do that, working with people. I think that's a great idea. And this landscape is such a beautiful, powerful landscape. It would be a very powerful, good thing. Only good things can come of it. So I support it.
Tom?
Yeah. Can I add one thing about the residency? So we have generally how these work is we have 4 to 6 weeks where someone will come in and they get partnered with the site. So in this situation, we'd have an artist and they would be at the bison range for 4 to 6 weeks. During that time, they have the ability to create and work on their creative process. Like I said, if they're a painter or a dancer or a musician, they have that time dedicated to their art form. Also during that time, Open Air helps facilitate community events. So whether it's an artist presentation or a workshop, we would work with folks at the Bison Range to help bring the community in and, showcase the artist and also showcase this incredible place that we have and see how their work intertwines with the landscape. So we're definitely community focused. We often say that their residency is just the kickoff of our relationship with them. And the beauty of having, local Montana artists is then we can continue working with them through other workshops, exhibitions. We love to feature, work with other community organizations to feature exhibitions. Yeah, like I said, workshops, whether in Missoula or up here, we're definitely eager to fill that need.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly support the project, but the only thing I have to ask about is liability. And so are your artists in residence covered by any form of liability?
They are, yeah. Open Air has the insurance to cover each artist. And there is a daily stipend. Open Air provides a stipend as well as lodging throughout their experience.
Other question? Guess I'm wondering if this artist might be from our tribe.
Definitely. And if you have any ideas or know of people, we would love, this is where we would love to, like Danny mentioned, bring you all in. And yeah, definitely take your guidance there.
Go ahead, Whisper.
The focus is to try to outreach to local Flathead Indian Reservation artists and provide the opportunity here. It is a program where an artist puts an application in and then there's a committee that selects. So we would need a local artist to apply. And then we would evaluate local artists first. Should we not receive any, then we would look at Montana native indigenous artists. And then if we didn't get any there, which I can't imagine we're gonna get past the first tier, then the third level would be to look at Montana artists. So indigenous here, indigenous across the state. And if we fell short for some reason, you know, it's giving up 4 to 6 weeks of your time. You do get paid, but it's not like a full-time job. Then we would look at Montana artists. So that's the focus of this program and the indigenous part of that. We would advertise in the Charcusta and local mediums too to try to attract locals.
Jennifer?
I was just gonna say connecting with Rob would be helpful because he can help you get the word out. So there's so many artists that we have. Rob's an artist. You know, I can think of a number of painters. So yeah, we have a lot.
Daniel?
No, this is really exciting because I know it just promotes more people coming into our spaces, and we really get to showcase who we are as a people. So I think that's much needed out at the bison range. Kind of a little off topic though, two things for you, Whisper, I guess, is I gave Katie Mahalik contact information for you and Tabitha. She's a student at University of Montana. She's wanting to do a project on the bison range reach project, I guess. So I'll just text you her information, I guess, when we're done here. And then the bison range, I go out there quite often and I see the office space gets kind of tight back there for you guys. We've just moved the 24/7 building down to the old agency. And I have in the current building 3 office spaces. It's going to go down to 2 because I'm trying to get 1 to Essential Eats for some food donations. But I do have 2 office spaces down there, and I'm not sure what I'll have in that 24/7 building once I look at it. Right now, they're officed through tribal health, but if it's something where we can get people in there to really help promote that healthy community that we're working hard on down there, I just think having people office down there would really get us in the right direction, but maybe help you guys at the same time. So just food for thought while we're talking about Bison Range and some of the projects going on out there. But thank you guys. I appreciate you guys coming in, and this is really exciting for the arts.
Go ahead, Whisper.
I don't think we need official action unless you want to take action. I think we were mostly looking for your blessing today. And then to let folks know, you probably got an email from me for a calendar for the Bison Range Master Planning Kickoff Meeting on September 3rd. We're going to be having that at the Bison Range in the Game Warden area. We can maybe fit 20-ish people, but we can fit some more. And we will be doing that on Zoom as well. But it will be talking about getting all the information together to look at developing Ravalli Hill and some of the other things. I believe we'll have their economic development person there to try to think about ways to generate revenue, but also the infrastructure part. So we would love if you could log in or come down and be part of that. There will be more meetings, and once the planners are able to bring some of that stuff together, we'll be bringing that information out to you as well.
Is there any objection to Bison Range partnering with Open Air or an artist in residence? I think you got your blessing. Thank you for coming in today. Morning, Seth. Come on up.
Good morning, Chairman Dolson, council members. I have Mark Simpson and he stepped away. I always spaz out here. It's page 8 of your sheet. We are seeking council approval to enter into non-competitive negotiations as well as a contract with a one-person company called Stream Basics LLC to provide owner representation at the North Fork Jocko Diversion Works to represent the Dewar Irrigation Infrastructure Program. The individual that we would like to engage is a semi-retired hydrologist engineer, very flexible, very cost-effective. So the contract amount over a 4-year period would total to $344,368.76. So it's a very good arrangement for our program in that the individual is flexible, very cost effective, very low overhead, and very experienced. And so we like to have owner representation at our major construction projects. Yes.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Seth, thank you. And no disrespect intended, okay, but we hire people, we have people on staff that do this. And so to seek a company that's just owned by one person with the amount of money that you're asking for a 3-year period, that's outrageous. We have staff people that should be doing this in their job duties. And so I don't know what we're trying to, what our objection here or what we're trying to accomplish here, but yeah, I just can't see that. I can't see approving something like that, how it benefits us.
Well, we need, if I could respond.
Yeah.
We don't have staff people with experience reviewing plan sheets and construction drawings and interacting with contractors. We don't have those staff people actually. And at, we on the Jocko pipeline, we retain full-time engineering firm for construction oversight. Kicking Horse Reservoir, you just approved a significant contract for construction oversight. All of our jobs, we seek construction oversight. We don't have qualified construction inspectors at this time, actually. So we're trying to grow that skill set. One job went out under the Safety of Dams program, but we don't have those individuals at this time. So that I'm not trying to be argumentative.
No, I understand, Seth. I
we
totally
have-
understand. And like I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, but this is something I cannot approve. I mean, I don't support. I would much rather see you advertise and see if we have tribal members out there that can do this job. And I'm sure there is. I'm sure they're out there, but
we do have advertisements out now under the Safety of Dams, Dewar Safety of Dams for construction inspectors. We have had limited success with that, actually. People that are plan sheets, willing to be in a controversial setting with a contractor that's spending $10 million a year on a project. So we have a deficit of that skill set at this time. That I'm just telling you that.
no, like I said, I do understand.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to read the advertisement, but was there a salary listed on there?
Pardon?
Was there a salary that was on?
Oh, for the
advertisement?
construction inspector for Safety of Dams, you know, they put out an advertisement for an engineer one and an inspector, and the inspector comes in the $28 to $30 an hour range, something of that nature. Yeah. And this individual actually is carrying all their own, you know, this is $100 an hour, but he's running a business, carrying his own liability, all of the insurance, bonding. That also includes his vehicle and per diem and all of that sort of thing. So we are trying to grow construction inspectors. We don't have them right now. Yeah, I don't, it's not a off the shelf skill, actually. Yeah, yeah.
Martin, go ahead.
I mean, as we saw yesterday, I don't think we have the capacity to do something like this. 86,000 a year isn't really that much, and so I'd make the motion to approve.
A motion by Martin to approve the sole source to Stream Basics LLC. Second by Carol. All in favor? James? 4. 6-4. Opposed? Lynn, James, and myself. Carries.
Thank you very much. And with your indulgence, I'll point out that down the road, we have the welding school going on just down there. We have 9 tribal members in that school right at the moment. I just dropped off the Jocko K Canal plan sets there so they'd have real things to look at for that. And then under Tony's guidance, we're now meeting, we'll have 2 meetings this week about how to engage tribal contractors. And so with respect, we're trying to understand and do these things, but I guess it's getting to be a broken record. We're not quite there yet. Yeah, but we're accelerating the effort to try to bring the benefit further, expand the benefit further across the spectrum. Yeah, but the welding program, if any of you have time, it's right down on Old 93, and it's an exciting thing. We will, I can bring an update at the end of their class. We have tribal members working in Great Falls, one here, and they're in the Iron Workers Union, and one in Boise, Idaho. And so we're taking, it's expensive, but we're trying to succeed one person at a time there. And so a number of tribal members are sticking with it, willing to travel to the jobs. And so that's one small feather in our cap. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Martin and then Carol.
Do you guys get any bids from SKMM, or do you work with them at all?
We interact with Dan and SKMM. They, of course, are managing the construction of the Dewar building at Ronan. They're managing that project. And they took and helped us with Gray Feather Construction, manage that. And then we're talking to them and trying to find a place for them. But I think, we don't have a bunch of current engagement with them. No. Yeah.
Go ahead, Carol.
I just want to thank Lynn for, making sure that our departments know that this is critically important for us as a tribe, that our people are number one. Now being a contractor myself, I really see the importance of it. I feel kind of crazy that I didn't acknowledge, but until a person's actually in the middle of it, kind of think, wow, that could have been me. And I also, Seth, I want to thank you, for hearing us and really taking it serious, because I think Tony is now really on the ball on this whole issue too, about making sure our tribal members are considered in every situation. So I just needed to acknowledge both of you for making sure that this is done and that we're taking it serious. But certainly, I do believe that when you have a project like this, you need to have qualified people that know what they're doing. So I think that's why we move forward on these issues.
Yeah. And again, in the interest of interaction, there's, and I expressed this to Tony, that it's important to understand that there are two lanes here. There's the tribal contractor lane, and then there's the employment opportunity lane. And so Dewar pays what are called prevailing wages. All of our projects, because they're federal, require prevailing wages, which for a craft person are $40 to $50 per hour. So I don't want to lose sight of the fact that maybe somebody doesn't want to be a contractor, but they want a family supportable wage. And so Prospect Construction at the Jocko Pipeline Project has 3 tribal members on it, and they're not big crews. Big Knife has tribal members on it, or Knife River, excuse me, it has 2 to 3, and the North Fork Jocko has 3 to 4 tribal members working under prevailing wages. So we want to understand how to get more tribal contractors working. But we also, I think I think we can have much more rapid success by getting the ironworker school and getting people work. So I always want to keep those 2 lanes open. The other thing we're trying to do, excuse me, yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also, and I'm not sure how we can get this done, but I think this can be a good potential opportunity for this particular position where we can utilize some of our 477 monies to train a tribal member to work with this particular individual to train him to be a construction inspector, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how we can get that done, but I think I would like to take this particular opportunity to do that. I think there's a tribal member out there that we could find and start training them up and getting them to do this type of work, because as mentioned, as we've seen yesterday, we need these kind of people. And yeah, I'm just concerned because, you know, this company has one person that we're paying this huge salary to, you know, and I want to see us benefit in other ways. If we can get a tribal member to work with this, to be trained by this individual.
Job shadowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do we get that done? Who do we assign that to?
We just lost our I&E program in Dewar. Both people moved on, and that was one of their missions was to help with job shadowing and things like that. So we took a small hit. Casey Ryan will regrow that program, but that was the group we had identified to sort of help us, because the Marks and Seths really we don't have that capacity right now. So obviously we need, I'm not trying to defend myself or our program, but
Not at all.
we're trying to understand how to do that. Actually, a tribal member is the construction oversight person on the Jocko Pipeline Project, Marvin Corville, from Mission there. But he's working for he works for Morrison Merrily. So he'd be, we had an intern job shadowing him. The intern is now back at college. So we had that going on, but yeah, that's where we're at. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was always amazed at the wildlife program and Dale Becker. Now he set up educational contracts with students and, got them, help finance them through college and assistance at tribal ed. And then they look at the wildlife program and look at how many tribal members are wildlife biologists. So it's like persistence will prevail. When we first started, looked like the water compact was going to come into play. We were still lobbying at Helena. My cousins from Miles City, on my mom's side there, all those kids are engineers or teachers, civil engineers, electrical engineers, chemical engineers. And one of my cousins' daughter they're all Bozeman folks and went to school in Bozeman. And she's a civil engineer. And she graduated about the time that the compact was signed. And she's working on the North project to the contractor. So she was a young girl, and then all of a sudden she's doing that project. I thought that was really interesting. She moves around, does projects for the company.
Sure.
But I thought, wow, it's just that persistence. How can we shape shift some of this funding to get college students interested in engineering and get some through the system? because it's not just an ordinary thing. Engineering is a tough curriculum. And going to MSU and seeing the engineering school and wherever you go to Butte, wherever you go, it's a tough curriculum. It's not for everybody. It's like making doctors, you know, it's very difficult. So it's can we find those students in our tribal population? Can we push more people that way? And is there funding to pay for their college? Is there funding in the water compact to help pay for college tuition for tribal youth to go to school? And how much longer will we go? How far out are we in the project timeline for the betterment project to the irrigation? So all those things kind of weigh on me all the time, trying to figure that out. But trying to maximize this massive amount of funding to the betterment of our communities and the education of our youth and the skill set of our people. And I know you think about it too, Seth. I know you do. We've had those conversations. So I just, thinking about the future, how can we do things? How can we do more? How can we maximize what we have? We really need, it's a challenge and we really need to do more. Appreciate your effort with it. So.
Yeah, and I guess we're two more points. One is a year ago now, I spoke to the president of Montana Tech and the director of the Bureau of Mines and Geology. And if we had tribal members that wanted to go through Montana Tech in a technical discipline, and I thought 2 would be a good number because they could feed off each other when they felt lonely and lost. They would shepherd them. They would keep track of them. And so but I don't know how, I just go home and live my life. I don't know who the people are that would do that. I don't know how you cast that net and do that, but Montana Tech is sitting there waiting for that opportunity to arise. So maybe I'll try to visit with Casey about that and see if we can use the settlement to pay for that. And Tech is a great school, and it's small enough where people don't get lost in the system and it's nearby. And then the other thing that we'll be starting to meet on is you've seen the tribal team come to you with these enormous projects, right? Jocko pipeline, we're biting off the elephant. So what we want to do now is start what we call the canal modernization program, which is smaller projects within the canal network. We don't do that right now. And that would then spin off smaller jobs that could go to tribal contractors and get them entry points into this business, basically. So, saying it and then accomplishing canal modernization is not simple because we have to design them. We have to do all the environmental permitting. And so it's not going to happen tomorrow, but at least actually this Thursday, we're going to start that conversation of what it looks like to start a canal modernization program. And Little Bitter is just desperate for canal fixes. All of the project is just desperate for canal fixes that are small incremental improvements. So that's the other thing we're doing, is trying to right size jobs for the local community. So anyway, thank you for your time. If there are no more questions.
Definitely connect Casey with tribal ed.
Yeah, because SKC has a building trades program, and we were able to find through Tom Tanner, frankly, who's like the spokesman for the Ironworkers Union, right? He's in my office quite a bit about it. We're trying to understand how to connect with the Carpenters Union because, again, employing tribal members rather than contractors, all of our jobs have concrete forming, and that's Carpenters Union work. And so we don't know, they don't have the same program, but if SK College with their building trades program could produce carpenters, that's actually, we need that more than anything for all the concrete work. So it's a lot to do though. Yeah.
Thanks, Seth.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
So I'm coming in this morning to get approval to make updates to my org chart. You should have the old and the new. The one that's up now is the new version. And this is the old version. And it's simply just changing employees around in titles, and I need them to match with what we have in ADP. So I've been working with personnel to get that kind of cleaned up. And then just kind of reflecting duties and responsibilities, titles, just showing kind of what's vacant and who's in training and what needs to be filled yet. The NAGPRA coordinator I don't have anything there yet. That position was originally up at KCC and it was funded for one person. We're trying to determine whether or not we can receive funding as a tribe for 2 NAGPRA coordinators. So in the meantime, when I was historical collections manager previously, I just worked pretty closely with that NAGPRA coordinator that was housed at KCC. But we're just trying to work through and see if we can get funding for both of them. All these positions are funded except for that NAGPRA coordinator. They're budgeted for 2026, so there will be no budget changes, just modifications and moving responsibilities around.
Questions for Sadie? Questions about the org chart? Martin?
Will this increase your budget or is it
No, there will be no changes to the budget.
motion to approve the new org chart?
Motion by Martin to go forward with the new org chart. Second by Carol. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Limit.
Thank you.
September 3rd is our next regular scheduled elders meeting. We'd love to see you all there. Usually they take a break for the summer and they did for August. So September we'll be picking back up. Also Thursday and Friday, we'll be going on a overnight trip with our Elders Advisory Council to the First Peoples Buffalo Jump and stopping at a few stops along the way. But just out there documenting their stories and regaining access to some of our ancestral homelands. So if any of you are wanting to go, we'll try to arrange that, but just let me know as soon as you can. One much.
Thank you, Sadie. Carol?
I wonder if right now is the time to talk about the cultural lead questions that came up.
I don't know that discussion is short enough to
Okay.
fill in right now, but yeah, definitely cultural leave is an issue.
Yep, I agree. I think that's something we need to revisit. I believe my recommendation for that would be to have a discussion with both culture committee directors. And I believe you guys had that discussion with my predecessor prior. So I definitely think we need to revisit that.
We will do that.
Looked. What's that? Great Falls? Yes, yes. And also, I can share the itinerary with you all. Actually, elders are down there right now reviewing and going over our packet. So that's where I'm busting back to.
We'll have a good day. Michelle. Good morning.
Good morning, Council. Okay. So I'm here to present Julie's latest project for tribal education. This book, originally when we started talking about it, we were calling it the Tribal Council book because it does contain information, but if you've ever worked with Julie, it starts like this and then she just adds a whole bunch of stuff to it because she's awesome. So this turned into a story of sovereignty, and it starts from the beginning. And I think almost all of you have quotes and pictures in here too. But there will be hard copies that we're printing a copy for each of you. But in the meantime, we're ready to start rolling it out in PDF form and training teachers. And so I wanted to come here and talk to you guys about it first before we went public with it and make sure that everybody's okay with it. She hopes, the final edit version before it goes to print. And so she couldn't join me today, unfortunately. She had an appointment in Missoula, but I've uploaded the most recent version in my agenda request for you guys. It's 197 pages. But I think it's beautiful and got emotional when I was reading it. So yeah, that's why I'm here today. We have a scheduled training and 27 teachers signed up. And so, it's from 5 to 6:30 tomorrow and Thursday.
Questions from Michelle? Go ahead, Marty.
And I know that our family's always had a inconsistent spelling, but they spell it Charlo with a T at one point when they're talking about Martin Charlo. And the rest of it is all without the T.
Okay.
And just to keep it consistent, I'd rather just.
Okay.
without.
She did tell me that. So right now she's making sure that dates and the end notes match with the information that's in the book. And then typos will be the last thing that she goes and looks for. And I'll make sure that she looks for that.
Yeah, because in some spots she calls him Charlo with a T, and other
Okay.
places is identified Charlo without.
Okay.
And like I said, it's
What does the family want it to be? Without?
without.
Okay.
T silent.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle, for I think your visionary work in this arena with the Tribal Civics Project. You mean, I just really appreciate your skills to make things happen. Take an idea and to work with Julie, and that the two of you can just make these wonderful projects happen. Because it just is another area where we are leaders, where our tribe is a leader in this area. Because I don't know of any other tribe in the United States that has a book about the history of their leadership. And there's a number of books you could buy about the leadership of a state or of the United States, or a book where you could even see who the presidents were and know a little bit of something about each one of them. But nothing exists for tribal leaders.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to, for future tribal leaders and for people interested in our history, for people to understand how we got to where we are, because I think that's an essential thing. And a lot of times we expect people to have this kind of information, but there's nowhere they can get it. And now there is.
Yeah.
We should understand the history of our own nation. And these materials are really important for that, for us to understand ourselves, and to every tribal member should understand what sovereignty is and how important that is and why it's important. And not everybody knows what that even means. So your materials are changing that. So I really, really appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
There's no real action you're looking for today.
I'm hoping that it's okay for me to move ahead with my teacher training for the next 2 days. Is everybody okay with that?
Sure. Martin, have you gone to the culture committees on these book?
Not on tribal civics or on a story of sovereignty, because it's not so much culturally based. It's really leadership based. And so original source documents were used, and then of course interviews with the living, and like the biography on Pat Left Hand, his family helped write that and reviewed it and approved it. And same thing with Mickey Pablos. And so yeah, there's not cultural stories or anything of cultural significance shared in it as there is leadership. And she worked with you guys.
You see a lot of nods.
Okay.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, it's 197 pages. I haven't either. I told her I'll sit down and read it from front to end when it's in hard print.
It's hard for me to have a nod until I read it.
Yeah. Okay, as long as everybody's okay with me moving ahead and training the teachers with it for the next 2 days.
So whenever I go on long road trips, I always listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I always try to pick like really long ones, so they'll last a long time.
Yeah.
But maybe could there be a way that some of these materials could be like an audiobook?
That's a really good idea.
Because, you know, if people have literacy or whatever,
Yeah.
I love audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I like today when I drove here, I'm listening to a book.
Okay.
Almost always when I drive, I'm listening to a book.
Me too.
And so I don't know if anyone else is an audiobooks fan, but that would just, yeah, Kathy's an audiobooks fan. And so I think if it's an audiobook, that would, more people would listen to it.
Okay.
And I don't know, that, I just think that would also just make it more accessible to people.
Okay.
Because
Maybe you could talk to Julie because she's trying to retire on me.
I know. Well, Julie could read it, or even like someone with a good voice, Ruth
Yeah.
Laney. I mean, there's like a number of people who have like really good voices
Mhm.
for that. But that, I just think that would make it more accessible to people if people could
Okay.
listen to it.
Mhm.
And maybe even some of the tribal civics documents,
Mhm.
if somebody could read them and people would listen to it.
Yeah.
I listen to audiobooks almost every day.
Okay.
I am a huge fan of audiobooks.
Thank you.
I know as I look, the word sovereignty's meant a lot to me throughout all the years. And as I've looked, like, as Jennifer said, a lot of people don't understand the word. But when they come to understand it, they usually understand it as state sovereignty. And tribal sovereignty is so different from state sovereignty. And so I hope that's in the book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
James?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, absolutely. I think what this work is doing is it's bringing out stories we never heard and firsthand accounts of tribal members, tribal leaders and elders from the past and during their context of time and what they were experiencing.
Yeah.
You know, like, was it the Matt in here that there's a section of what his experience was in terms of the irrigation project being developed.
Yeah.
Some of the promises that were kind of understood and some of the craziness of the Indian agent colluding with, you know, the power company and colluding with
Yeah.
and all of that. And I think, and I do listen to audiobooks for a number. Audible is my go-to. But even this morning on the way to work, I'm listening to an audiobook on World War II stuff in North Africa, where my grandpa Fred served. So I'm kind of interested in that. But in this, there's pieces and bits of stuff here that, you know, I never knew about or understood or read or knew existed. And it's so interesting to see and to study. And I'm interested in reading through this a lot more. What, in terms of the typos and such, so what's the, because I found a typo on here and I'm just kind of wondering when, at what point will the typos and stuff be?
So
Yeah,
she's
with-
hoping to have the final edit done this week.
Okay.
And then her graphic layout designer will send it to the printer, which is Alpha Graphics out of Missoula.
Yeah.
And then we've requested 20 copies, so 10 would be for all of you. And so she is doing her final edit, but then she also has a copy editor that she pays to go through, and that's not tribal, so then they're not already making assumptions. They're reading through things that they don't know about, which is better, easier to catch stuff because.
Okay, I'll
yeah.
watch for the typo I see to see if it gets caught.
Okay. Well, if you want to, just highlight it and send it to me and
All right,
I'll
will
tell
do.
her.
Will do.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Can we go into executive? And did you guys want a quick break or are you guys gonna go for it?
So we will go out of regular into executive and we will take a short break.
The first action item, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, is an attorney contract in the prosecutor's office for Emily Bolin, a 1-year contract.
Motion by James, second by Tom. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Right, thank you. The next action item, Mr. Chairman, council members, would be a 1-year attorney contract with Stu Levitt.
Motion by James. Second by Bing. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Okay. And the last action item, Mr. Chairman and council members, would be water rights consultant contract with Dowell.
Motion by James, second by Tom. All in favor? We are good, unanimous.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your time.
So you want to cut the one contract by 1 penny? Thank you all. We will break for lunch. Back at 1, budget. Good afternoon, Ruth. I think.
Good
Carol's
afternoon.
back yet or not? I think we're ready.
Okay, so we had come in on the 24th, laid out the general picture. We came back in the following week, or we were supposed to, and then we had to be rescheduled to today. So just refreshing on what we saw as some of the major points here. Made some notes on the first table that you saw on the 24th. If we are not going to proceed as prepared, meaning we're not comfortable with the 74 million here in the general fund column because of the amount of 34 million up to 34 million, we'd be needing to offset with corporate dividends and not believing that we're going to be there. That would be a depletion of current reserves. So to soften that impact, we then propose to cut that in half by reducing spending by $5 million in the general fund. The way that we make that up is we do not go forward with the increase per capita. So that saves 6.13 million. In the government services, we would eliminate the proposed utility benefit that we believed we would have to fund if LEAP didn't come through for 26. And then we would ask facilities to lessen their projects from the estimated 5.5 million to just over 3 and make almost a $2 million cut there. So that would change the general fund proposed outlays to 69 million and then decrease the reliance on reserves by the same amount. If we're looking at dividends to come, Mr. Spars informed you of what he was being informed by the One Corporation. Technologies is on the 5-year gradually increased, incrementally increased dividend of 10.6. So just looking at that, what might come in from gaming, this is why we have concern about the 34 million transferred from reserve for 26. Anything else? Anything to add, Greg?
In the intervening weeks, there has been no change. There's been no change in the expected dividend picture. It's principally about a $10 million reduction in the expected dividend.
Any comments or questions from council? Go ahead, Greg.
One other thought, council asked me to reach out to the departments and directors to talk about any savings or curtailing of expenditures that could happen in any of the departments across the organization. We've had that communication go out for 2 consecutive weeks to the executive team and to those departments. And the initial response we've got from the field is that they've been on a pre-austerity diet, planning for budgets at or around 2024 levels since the freeze at the beginning of the year. We've put all the departments on a prepare for doing more with less or doing the same with what you got in 2024. So they are all operating under that assumption of there being little to no increase, and they're already as lean as I think they can be right now.
A lot of silence. I hate to see the increased per capita go away. I'd like to see that happen. Our people are needing. Any thoughts? Go ahead, Jennifer.
Well, just talking about budgets, Tom brought up something this morning about where the facilities maintenance is with their budget. Are they close to spending all of their money in facilities and maintenance this year?
I can find out for you.
Go ahead, Ruth.
In answer to Ms. Finley's question, so the 2 parts of that budget is their regular operating, which is an indirect cost pool. And that is a $3+ million budget. It's primarily their staff and all of their ongoing regular maintenance costs like utilities, fuel. That's like one of their biggest costs. And then on the project side, that's the one I'm talking about. That's 5 million plus. It's all of the various tribal and governmental purpose buildings like this one that they have, large one-time either upgrade, replacement, or repair costs. And they have a fairly extensive list of those. It also includes paving in some of the parking lot areas. It'll include, roofs, HVAC. And this is tailing off of what has already been spent through ARPA. So the ARPA funding that came down through Treasury 4 years ago, they have been spending, what was the budget this year, Greg? Was 3 or 4? I don't know, because that's not on my side, but so that is why we're kind of returning to pick up those projects that are still on the board and are not going to be concluded with ARPA. So this is going to be an ongoing, fixed amount. Some of it might be deferred. For instance, one of the replacements is the flooring in this building, which is now 21 years old. In some areas, the carpeting is very rippled and actually not safe, actually torn and in tatters in the office right next to me. So, I mean, it's not a live or die thing, but it's $300,000 to do this in this building alone. When you're replacing roofs and HVACs and so on, those are big ticket items that sooner or later you will replace. You'll have to. So Lisa has not been directly informed of this proposal. So I would expect because there's so many projects in there and council themselves has ideas at times about what ought to be addressed. So she's continually reprioritizing what her projects are. But the reason we look to these areas for cut is because it does not take away jobs nor direct services to members. So that's why we do it the way that we do. Be happy to hear your thoughts on any other options to go this way or to go more if you felt that was desired.
Oh,
What is the status of our reserve account? What's the amount?
There are reserves to cover the entire 32, 34. We have plenty of cash and capital on hand.
There's no single account, just to clarify. In the general fund, what you're literally looking at is the total of treasury and local corporate dividends and recreation permits and revenue sharing. Those are all the discretionary tribal revenues. So when you say the fund, it's actually the sum of all general fund. The only ones that are segregated for just purposes of the budget is going to be the dedicated trust because you have a rule on that you imposed. Third party, which is restricted to purpose, and then all of the others. But yeah, in the general fund, when we began, I think it was 24. It was about 100 million. And this is including dividends, which is the primary balance in that. Could not give you the number today. Dedicated trust is a little bit easier because it's growing back by the repayment of the loans, EKI and gaming. And the others are much smaller. Gaming has also had grown to an amount that I believe was in the 20s. Forgive me for not being able to tell you that. But as I was saying, I think in the first discussion, our concern is that when we came in for 25, I think the ask for transfer from reserve was 32. And what we've been paid in dividends to date are declared 11.5, 10.3, 5.9. I mean, we almost completely offset that. And when Greg informed me about, the one corporation is not even going to come close to what they had, I said, that's, the risk is that we reduce that reserve by a considerable amount. The reserve earns income by not being spent because of investment. And, looking at how, that takes an impact on that part alone is of concern. And just the corporate dividend picture itself, the fact of it is that we are very reliant on that now. As we obtained more, we are spending more. And so it's kind of like the picture the federal government is looking at now. If you decrease that tax revenue because you cut taxes and you have less to spend, they're forced to spend, and then they're still in a deficit. And this tribe should not be in a deficit for any length of time for very long. That's just my comment on that.
so basically you're saying the reserve can cover what is budgeted without any cuts at all? That cuts would help reduce the dip into reserve. And we're unsure of where the dividends actually will fall.
I want to bring one more, and we did not discuss this. I did not hear or feel as though the council was wanting to hear about a different cutback, but it goes to the new programs that are included in the spend. So we've added the equivalent of 2 million in programs. If you forego that, I'm not trying to be deceptive here, but if you have not been doing it and that you now don't do it, is that actually a cut or a reduction? Well, it depends on how you want to look at it. I'm simply looking at the amount of dollars, but it's going to go somewhere else. The new programs you're agreeing or you have been recommended to bring on are the full year of food sovereignty, the full year of the warming shelter, and the full year of operational costs at Anchor Way for emergency and transitional housing. We felt like those services were critical, especially for the shelter and Anchor Way, that those are direct services to vulnerable tribal members. Otherwise, they would not be proposed to be existing at all. So because of the wind down of ARPA funding, which had been providing for warming shelter, the proposal is that it becomes a full-time homeless shelter and will run daily for a year. So there's staffing and operational costs for that. Same with Anchor Way, that the funding would provide for the portion that's dedicated to housing people. I believe the occupancy is 20, 20 or 22 individual rooms. And food sovereignty comes in at $500,000. The smallest add-on was for the CWD, chronic wasting disease initiative that NERD wanted to launch because they were resource strapped and wanted to continue it, but had no immediate way to expense for that.
What's the amount for Anchor Way?
It is, did not bring that. It is just, I think, under $500,000, like 490, 495. And I might be transposing that with warming shelter. They were almost the same.
So aren't we concerned about the utilization of that building needing to be under tribal health and needing to have it be that, or we risk paying back like 2.1 million? I mean, I'm not sure why we're funding that and tribal health isn't, or is it because it's only half the rooms? Less than half the rooms?
The work plan, I believe, carves out 8 to 12 rooms dedicated towards providing homes or temporary shelters for people. And that's the expected part that is not linked to tribal health's ability to operate the balance of the facility.
Is tribal health providing a budget or anything? Or, I mean, have they provided a plan yet? Do we know, have any idea what their plan is?
I've not seen what their specifics are for when they plan for the use and occupancy of that space. They came in, I believe it was almost a year ago, and described what they were planning at that time for increasing intensive outpatient services. But it wasn't solely on that property. It was also addressing another location and their plan for how they were going to proceed with that.
Time. Do they don't provide a budget to you guys at all? What their budget went up then, I'm assuming?
They have presented 26. And any portion of that would relate to that would be in third party. And at this point, I've not seen something specific in 26 that's for that. They need to have your approval of that before they can go forward and actually start to do what they're planning to do.
Could they kick in $500,000 for their third party for the warming or that part?
They could not. They cannot fund non-healthcare with third party. Pardon me, sir. Okay. Sir.
The food sovereignty budget, is that just supplanting the loss of USDA funding? Because I thought we were still getting Headwater funding for food sovereignty.
This is going to be a matter of, I guess, how you're going to view this. Choose to view it the way you will. The program was initially funded by an award from Headwaters. And then Headwaters changed its, I guess, its approach with the tribe and went into this forward agreement for the future where they will award an amount beginning, I believe it's every April, Greg. And so they said, well, we'll award you this much for this period and so forth and so on. But it has not been restricted to any purpose that I was made aware of. When the program funding under the original award ended, the program was directed by one of your officials to continue. And at that point, we had to ask for you to appropriate from general fund, which is where this funding was paid into, to allow them to finish this fiscal year without cutting it off and stopping it. The grant awards, to my understanding, did not fund any people, or at least they didn't fund full-time people. They were allowing them to procure the products or things that were part of what their program operations were, but the Headwaters was what was funding people, the actual employees that worked there.
More thoughts? I still come down on the side of maintaining our increase in per capita. As to the other savings, I'm very willing to take that recommendation. Then,
Yeah, I agree with that too. That would be the one that I would want to keep. I just think because for our membership, all the other expenses are going to go up as they are for everyone, and price of everything is going up, and I definitely see that every time I go grocery shopping. And I just think, oh my God, you know, and just having been a single mom for a really long time and being really careful and budgeting very carefully, and I really feel for people who have little kids right now. I buy diapers for my grandson sometimes and they're like $50 a box. Yeah, so everything's expensive right now, and I just think for families, especially, every little bit helps. And I agree with all the other cuts.
other thoughts? James?
Yeah, I agree on the per capita issue, but then I'm thinking of a family story. I'm parked at the Broads with my grandpa Fred. My grandma Eileen gets out and goes inside, so I'm in the driver's seat. Grandpa Fred takes the occasion of the absence of my grandma to say, "Your grandma Eileen, she'll drive all over town, spend $5 in gas to save 50 cents on a can of soup." But he did it while Graham was out of the room. But anyway, I digress. That story popped in my head as soon as we were talking groceries and stuff. But you know, definitely the cost of everything is going up, and unfortunately, a number of people in our country decided the cost of eggs was high enough, and let's do something different. And now we've got tariffs on our allies, tariffs on every country that's our friend. We have run out of the country everyone that picks the produce, that cleans rooms, that works on cars. And they're saying, oh, well, they're taking American jobs. Americans are not doing those jobs. They're not in the fields picking, they, we do have some, of course. We've got a number of our people down in Dixon and helping there, but the price of everything is gonna go through the roof. I was just watching in the news yesterday, the day before, the price of aluminum's going up, so the price of canned foods, because there's not enough aluminum for canned foods, canned sodas, etc. My nephew went into the garage and said, all of the sodas gone, all of them cans are gone. And so unfortunately, we're basically, we are in a dictatorship. The person has federalized the police in the District of Columbia. And I'm just surprised we have what we have here in our budget and the money we got. I can't imagine direct service tribes. I can't imagine what a direct service tribe would be dealing with. We're a self-governance tribe and we're struggling. Imagine we go take a trip across our state here and talk to a direct service tribe. They don't have any options. And so, there's so much that we don't see that is going to be downward pressure on our budget that I just, I'm a political science major. That's what my degree's in. And I've been studying politics since I was in junior high school. This administration is a fascist, authoritarian dictatorship. He has Republican on his thing, but that's not how he's acting. And I'm sorry if anybody in the room's voted for that person, but you need to really realize this guy is not, I didn't vote for them. But that has direct implications on what we're doing here. And an authoritarian dictatorship, he's ignoring the courts. So you talk about termination. I don't like Indians. He's already trying to take out in the Smithsonian. I know I'm on a track, but the Smithsonian, he thinks they're being too hard of talking about slavery. So he's mandating that the Smithsonian remove all them negative references to slavery. I can't imagine my grandpa, my grandparents, my uncles that fought in World War II against a fascist dictator. And now we essentially have that in that's the overarching thing that keeps me up at night sometimes. How is that going to affect us as a tribe? How is it going to affect our sovereignty, and what can we do to combat it? Well, unfortunately, we don't have an army bigger than the United States. I digress. I know I'm way off track, but I support the issue on the per capita. And I do think, the decrease in dividend payment from EKI needs to be explained a lot better than it has been. And it should be more reliable, like I'll give technologies that, hey, here's what it's going to be. And they've projected it out. EKI needs to do something similar. Can't just give 1 year this amount and the next year, oh, by the way, we're going to drop by 90%. That's not acceptable. So I think that needs to be explained as well. But thank you, Ruth and Patty and Greg, for working on this and giving us this information that we can consider it. Thank you.
Yeah, and you mentioned the increases for chronic wasting disease, Anchor Way, and the warming center. I would think as food prices go up, people are going to be relying more on hunting. I mean, I'm always grateful when my sons fill up my freezer when they do that for me. That's like, a nice savings. I can just cook all that meat and and I think that that's important because I think more people are probably going to rely on hunting for their meat to go to do that. And also more people who are really vulnerable, who are just right on the edge of being housed or unhoused. Having those services for homeless people is going to be really important. And I know people who have become homeless through no bad decisions of their own, through no mistakes of their own. They were, living in a place that they could afford, but barely, and then their landlord sold it. So because real estate prices are so crazy right now. And so then they sell it, and then these people, there's no inventory and there's nothing affordable. So where are they going to go? So I think I would not want to see cuts to those services. I think we're going to rely on them more. They're going to become more important to have that safety net for people.
And thank you, Jennifer, for the comments. I did not mention a one final proposed option for cut, perhaps swapping out other cuts or adding thereto. And that final one I know is not a popular one among many, and that's for land acquisition. This is the portion that is going to fund any land acquisition that we cannot attribute to some other source of funding. So we've tried to place something in there and actually increase that every year. So that remains the last non-program, non-staff, non-direct service cut that you can make in general fund. So I need to mention that to you if you had not already caught on to that one. And as just to follow up on Ms. Finley's comments, we always have tried, at least in the work we do here, to not propose, as I said, cuts on programs that would cause them to lose employees, to lose direct services or benefits, to have the least direct impact possible. And as Greg has said, programs have been on reduction and constraint for several years now because we do not appreciably increase their operating budgets. So they are making do, being extremely constrained in a lot of areas. Probably frustrating for leadership when they want more. Can you guys do more, get more, do it faster, offer more? It's hard. We know that in our own personal finances of ourselves. I know what I got paid today. That's as far as it's gonna go. I can't make it bigger or more, and not looking for a new car or new expenditures to add to that. Trying harder to save money for some of the reasons that Jennifer's talking about. And trying to allow you to do, notice in the permanent appropriations, you continued and you raised the benefit for what I call decedent benefit rather than burial allowance, because some people don't bury. I'm one of them. So we're maintaining that benefit at the increased amount. And that is something that we allow. It's one of the very few operational expenditures in the budget that we allow to spend as far and as long as it needs to go. It theoretically never runs out, and we estimate an amount, but they know it doesn't matter what it is there. They spend what is needed, and that's provided for. So we have to allow some flexibility to keep covering that. The elders benefit, we did propose another increase to that. The net increase is $150,000. So I don't know if you want to get real, draconian and say, and we're not increasing that either. But again, it's with an eye to preserving the purchasing power. When we built that program, it was always kind of in our desire to continually, incrementally increase that program so that it at least is somewhat of a meaningful benefit. So I can't think of any other real things to mention, but it's been a little while and I felt like we kind of left a few things dangling there that I know you probably went away wondering, what did she really mean there? So anything else, just feel free to bring it up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for all the information you provided us, Ruth and Greg. I certainly don't want to cut the per capita. That would go with the other recommendations. I think we can pressure our corporations to look at their retained earnings. You know, it takes money to make money, but in some of those, I'm not sure what they're doing. Even the one that kind of gave us a guarantee what the revenue would be, they had a big windfall of retained earnings, you know, an award. It's a massive amount of money, and they've kept all that, other than make the promise to give us the 10 million a year. So there's opportunity out there. I'm not sure, and of course, then there's other things we can do, like we talked about with the travel maintenance, not contracting to SKMM. You know, doing more of that in-house might save a little bit of money. If you're shrinking down the facilities budget anyway, I guess that kind of helps with that.
They will.
I'm not sure about food sovereignty. I just don't understand where we're at. If we lose what's projected there with USDA, and which they're engaged in, they're doing their last distribution now, and that was with local produce, which costs more than like what the food giving in Missoula does. The lady that gets Walmart food and, you know, real life type of food giving, we'd have to approach it that way. I'm not sure exactly what the future benefit of Headwaters is. I mean, not Headwaters, but food sovereignty. But at this point in time, based on what they're looking at doing, very critical to make sure that we can maintain our hunting and subsistence uses. I don't see us next year getting, you know, 750 buffalo from Yellowstone and another 10 or so that are hunted. That's not going to happen next year. But there is an opportunity to utilize our slaughterhouse to maximize that to the benefit we can for wild game processing. Maximize our other production we have from Cindy's fisheries reduction program at Flathead Lake, or the bison from the bison range. But my goal for food sovereignty really wasn't that kind of a program. It's a program of us managing large farms and ranches, and we're producing. We have our own herd of 1,000 head of cattle. We have large operations where we're growing large crops and irrigating these lands that we buy. That it's another factor. When we buy it, we have to be able to pay for that land. Owning property is expensive. You have to take care of it. You have all these things that are obligations, not to mention the taxes. So if we're going to get ourselves out of any hole, we got to be able to come up with a good economic development plan for the land that we already acquired. And I think that Greg is trying to get us on that course to have that day 2 plan once we get it, and how's it going to turn into an income producing piece of real estate for us? I really need to think that we can utilize and tap our resources to be creative and generate more revenue to get us out of any hole that we might be in, or to capture funds. And so I'm optimistic, because, you know, we are in a better situation today than we've ever been as a tribe. There is no doubt about it. So we're strong enough to be able to withstand weird stuff with Congress. The real hits with the great, beautiful, big bill haven't hit us yet.
Right.
And they're staged to hit us. They're staged to hit us after this next mid-year election. So the true effect of how bad we're going to get hit for our tribes, we won't realize until probably even after next fiscal year. So we have some more time to prepare and more time to do things. I just think we really need to think outside the box and do the best we can. But I know the tariffs are screwing up everybody. It's the tin cans, it's the aluminum, it's everything. It's the price of stuff. And so if there's any way we can help that, you know, low income, mid income, everybody to be able to have a little bit more spending to keep up with the inflation, I certainly support the very moderate increase that we're proposing for the per capitas. That we propose to leave it in. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
When we look at Bison Springs and the food sovereignty effort there. Isn't it right? They're dedicating it to production of native seeds. Isn't that the last thing I heard for food sovereignty at Bison Springs? I always want, that's a question I have. Yeah.
Chairman.
So where are we? We looking at the option of not increasing per capita. Where's council? I know I'm against that. And I've heard Jennifer say against it, Tom and James. I think Danielle said something on that order. Everybody? Keep the per capita increase?
I can't do 20,000.
Hey, it's my idea. Just kidding. We brought this up a long time ago. Just kidding.
Mr. Chair, do you need a motion for the
I
per
beg your
cap
pardon.
increase, or do we want to do that today?
I think it's imperative that we provide funding for acquisition of existing trust property when it's provided to us, if we can. I just, if a tribal member wants to offer that to us, we should do our due diligence to try to make that happen because it's keeping land in trust. So it's a less of a burden than looking at fee property. If we're going to look at fee property, then it should be something for strict economic development. And we should have that full vetted plan, like Greg says, you know, not just to negotiate on the best deal that Carol likes to get, but also be able to figure out how we're gonna make money off that property. If it's coming out of hard tribal dollars, yeah. It's BPA funded or it's water compact funding, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever it might be, outside funding sources, land back, whatever it might be. That's a different story. That's what I would prefer. We had a land acquisition budget, I would limit it to just trust property. If we had to say that, and then only it was economic development.
So could that just rest in reserve? In a attack reserve if that ever comes up?
In response to your comment, I think that what we're on the brink of here is setting the parameters by which the tribe will exhaust or spend the precious tribal reserve. And I feel reluctant to say that moving forward without at least earmarking those things would be somewhat treacherous. I think that from my notes here, we have the full prepared budget. We have the full prepared budget with the full spend. And I think that we've clearly articulated the $10 million gap that I think is kind of a gut punch. I think that whole thing, that whole budget can be accomplished if you have the willingness to spend reserves to make up for the shortfall. And I think to Mr. Steele's point, to have the conversation with the corporations is appropriate. We have the mid-year shareholder coming up on September 16th, and we can schedule something shortly thereafter to address that. I think what I'm hearing, what I'm looking at my notes is the reduction of government services for the supplement of the LEAP program appears to be the easiest line item to take away because as we move into fiscal 26, it appears as though that funding will come to us as a tribe and will not need to allocate that 900,000 or $1 million in general terms. And so my suggestion would be for the council to deliberate an up or down vote on keeping or removing that. The next one would be, I've heard that council's talked about the per capita and just have an up or down vote on whether it's kept or not. And then lastly, the $2 million reduction in the facilities and maintenance. My guidance would be for you to entertain an up or down vote, and then we can move forward with your guidance there.
So which corporation didn't come through with their, which one was way lower than, missed that?
Going to quote. Who's back there?
I'm happy to have that conversation with you offline or in an executive session.
So basically, you're saying that LEAP money is coming from the federal government, so we could look at that. And where does everybody stand? Does anybody object to removing that for the coming year? No objection to that. Tom?
Well, yeah, I don't know where we are with the 477, but I think there's opportunity for that funding to be able to help also with those folks that would be
Elderly,
under LEAP.
also elderly.
And yep. So there's other ways to
Gotta be
try
elderly
to
though.
supplement that particular topic and issue.
And per cap, is everybody on board with maintaining the increase in per cap? So I think we're gonna look at keeping that. The 2 million in facilities and maintenance? Yeah.
Yeah, my question is just going back to the food sovereignty program. I was under the impression that at some point they were gonna work towards being, to bringing in revenue by selling produce and maybe having some retail space, or I think I saw online that they were gonna sell the soups they were making and maybe make spices that they were going to sell. I think now would be the time when they would really have a solid plan for how they can offset their costs. Because I think whatever that is, if it's a retail space where they have a little restaurant where they sell their produce or their soups or their spices, whatever, but something to offset the costs and still help provide food to people if there's a way to do that.
Bruce?
So, Mr. Chairman, in response to some of the questions just raised on that, I have indicated to Ms. Hawkins that we will search out and provide what understanding we can on what the program's been performing, because since it just recently moved as a tribal program, we are trying to get a better understanding of that as well. So we will do our best to try to put that together for you in some meaningful way.
Carol?
I don't know how some of these programs decide that they're gonna be a tribal program. It's actually it should be a program with under a department somewhere instead of
And that is one
a
of
tribal department. It just sounds crazy. I know we had one guy walking here, Patrick Yawaki, came in and tried to get us to do the same thing way back in the day. And he's not even a tribal member. And I think some council members were gonna go for it. And I'm like, no. It takes a lot to bring a department together. So I would like to see us, I like the evaluation part, Ruth, to see if it's meeting the needs that we're paying for. And then go from there, because I didn't see any gardens this year. Did anybody? I didn't see. Oh, I didn't go out to job.
The Garden for Life program kind of died. And that wasn't our program. That was Farmer Bob or
So we didn't have a program. We didn't have.
Food Sovereignty did out at Job Corps.
Yeah, I think they do it out there. Yeah. But they made the soups.
I don't know it directly.
Okay, well, I missed it. I guess I don't. Hey, I work out in Ronan at the news fitness center.
Oh, no, Carol, I believe they had gardens out at Job Corps, but I don't know how big or small they were this year. And then I think there was the garden up at Buffalo Spring Ranch, but I don't know if that was personal to the person living there or if that was a tribal garden, because there's been produce coming off of the ranch up there.
Remember, we were at Buffalo Guard. There was nothing going on when we were there, and it was already into this summer.
They planted at some point and there's been produce come off there, but I don't know if it's been distributed or not.
I believe the St. Ignatius Garden is in operation. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, the funding that they received to buy local produce has been cut. It's gone. So they won't have that for themselves next year. Yeah, it's completely gone. So I'm not exactly sure what they'll be doing.
Just one last comment. I know that I was aware that food sovereignty was using a lot of WIOA workers, which is 477 funding. That should have offset some of their expenses out there. And then it was my understanding they were awaiting another grant and they were receiving another grant to continue there. So I'm a little confused as well because I thought Headwaters was funding the majority of this project too. So I think we really need to look in depth at the financials to it. So I'm in agreement with Carol on that.
Headwaters came in and they changed how they give us money. They actually look to have us put together a plan for that money, which could include food sovereignty or not, because it wasn't tied to any actual objective.
Right.
And
That's how we saw it.
I know Jordan has been pushing to have it pushed toward food sovereignty. And the amount that they were getting in other years was 400,000. Was it 5?
Their year long is 5.
And then it's over that now, right? Isn't it 6 now?
No,
It's,
or what the
it's
grant
jumped-
is 6, correct?
Correct. It's jumped to 3 payments of 600,000 that will come this past April, and then 2 more payments next following 2 Aprils.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And,
their annual cost is 5.
and we're supposed to
Because they
supply
pushed
an
it.
actual scope of work for that, a work plan for that, aren't we?
Mhm.
And
We've asked for that, yes.
do we have a due date?
We will provide you what we were given.
Okay.
What I was referring to was kind of the past performance, because it sounds like there was, thoughts on what was, happening. And as I said, we ourselves weren't aware because we didn't have it under our array until now. So we'll do all that we can to inform and also make that request directly to them that the inquiries arose in our discussion. We're not trying to hide anything or be deceptive or covert. We're in open session.
Tom?
Yeah, well, what they did get was the ag settlement grant for tribal producers for a planning grant. And that was for, I believe, for food sovereignty, for writing the ag plan or, development plan for that program. But that just was awarded, I think, just this past month.
Is that the settlement from Keeps Eagle? Is that what you're referring?
It's a fund that was set up for 10 years to give out to minority tribal producers
Through
based on
USDA.
other minorities being discriminated in the farm bill. And it sunsets next year. So it's in the last 2 years of its existence. And they're just supposed to issue out all the money in grants to Indian ag programs. And
We'll ask about that as well. We were getting up to speed on that very initiative because it was part of the Keeps Eagle settlement with USDA over the Native American farmers and ranchers discrimination. Thanks for letting us know.
Jen,
Look
go
into
ahead.
that.
Yeah, one thing that I came to mind is, thinking about potential cuts is where are we with the records management department that we created? Because that seemed like a lot of money to digitize all of our documents. And, I think that maybe with some departments, there might be like a large backlog of documents that need to be digitized that they might not be able to do. I'm thinking like the courts. Because I needed a court document and they couldn't find it. It's like, what? And I had to go back 2 different days. And then ask them to search for it twice. And I had to, I think 2 or 3 different people had to look for it. So I think Carol, you had the same issue. And so I could see like there might be some departments where you have to have everything digitized, but it would seem like once you get caught up, then you just train the staff that that's part of their duties is to keep everything digitized up to date going forward. What is the status with that department? Thanks.
We wondered ourselves, and so we inquired with Lisa Shords, and she advised that she would like to keep the budget request for 26 in place. And as you ultimately decide, I guess based upon discussions with her, how that's going to go forward if it does. So it is provided for currently, I think at just under $500,000. They reduced it somewhat. It was reduced a little bit.
To get back to the question Greg asked about facilities and maintenance and where council stands. Reduction in facilities and maintenance by 2 million. Everybody there? Is that an answer to my question? Sounds like everybody's on board with that reduction.
And
Ruth?
Mr. Chairman, what we would ask is that they do be advised of that, and then they will probably have some follow-up discussions with you on, just to let you know what things may have moved off of there. Just so you're aware of that.
Yeah.
It's also my understanding that they do not provide any allowance in those projects for anything at the celebration grounds. So heads up on that.
A while back, remember Ruth, we did the same thing and buildings started to go down. We need to make sure that we bring it back because it definitely has a need. And if we let buildings just go away, it just creates bigger messes.
Yeah. It's a hard one for sure.
Follow up, I guess, on what Jen said. We don't have anybody in that records management position anymore. I think that would be a fine spot to cut. If the rest of the council is, and I don't know if we don't have anybody staff there, how are we gonna spend the money for records management? It doesn't make much sense, and that might free up something somewhere else. It's like it's 586 was what was enacted for 2025.
That sounds about right.
And at that point, food sovereignty is one of our initiatives, and I don't think records management it is. So if we're gonna start having committees and things like that on our initiatives, I don't think we should be reducing food sovereignty. Yeah, records should be being done by their own department. Everything that they do, they should be saving to a e-file, and it wouldn't be that hard to upload. We have a whole IT department. I mean, I don't understand why we ever created that department, but it's in the past, so let's do away with it.
Is that helpful?
I think with your 3 indications on those 3 major areas, I think that we can revise and present and move forward with those recommendations. I think the 4th recommendation, we will certainly strike that. But we'll want to advise, I want to be open and say, I don't know how that changes the org chart underneath that director's. If merely eliminating the funding is the right path forward, But I certainly hear what you're telling us is is to eliminate the funding for that department underneath that director. Am I hearing that correctly?
That's what's been suggested.
Got it.
So I guess in conclusion, based on the discussion and what your feel and consensus, as I understand it, then I will revise the resolution. And can we come back in on Thursday, or are we better off next Tuesday? You're not meeting after Labor Day? You're not meeting on September 2nd?
From today, we'll be having a meeting.
I'm behind.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
excuse me.
council's going to a meeting on Tuesday in Missoula.
Okay, the 4th then? 4th,
Yes.
okay. So, boy, we are really coming down to our deadline. September 4th, but as I said earlier, no intent to ever rush or force you. It's your decision, and you know what that entails. Go forth. So, thank you for that. If you think of anything else, while we're on the information hunt and project, we will sure give that to you as we get that. Thank you. again.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth. Patty and Greg. Come on up, Zach. Board, good afternoon. We just have to make you guys a for-profit. We will go out of regular into executive.
Mr. Chair, we need action on this.
We'll need action on that as well as the manual.
Okay,
So whichever you want
I'll
to do.
make a motion on the resolution authorizing the setup of a signatory authority for the account at Eagle Bank.
Got a motion by James to establish the account at Equal Bank. Second by Danielle. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Okay.
And a motion to approve the manual as presented.
Motion.
Motion by James, second by Danielle. All in favor? With just whatever little editing you need.
I'll make the changes there.
We're unanimous.
Perfect. I appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
Okay. You guys have a great afternoon.
You too. You have any action?
But I'll zoom in.
Okay. Associate Justice. He's on Zoom. It's on Zoom.
Yeah.
Did we not?
Actually,
I don't see where we got the people. Did we get the people?
That got moved to the 9th.
Then we're at the end of our agenda then, right?
motion to adjourn?
Shay hoy.
Okay.
And we can just leave Jennifer on Zoom.
What happened?
Well, that's because you went outside for a while.